Oregon goes to Iowa.
Yes, they do.
And they win a bit of an ugly Big Ten game. We talked about that all week. Was it going to be ugly? Would they blow out Iowa? Would Iowa pull the upset? And it was kind of a combination, except the blowout part. Oregon won 18-16, a field goal by Atticus Sappington, who came up pretty clutch in this game. So Oregon State saving the day for Oregon again. How about that?
I'm very appreciative. Thank you.
You hated the kid. You wanted him subbed out. You didn't want him kicking field goals.
No.
And then he was perfect on the day. He was unbelievable.
I take back all the bad things I ever said. I apologize.
I think Dan Lanning did as well. And he hits the go-ahead field goal with just a few seconds left. Iowa has no time to do anything. The clock ends on the kickoff. And they win at Iowa 18-16. They extend the nation's longest active road winning streak now to 11 games. And how about some fun Dan Lanning stats for you?
You got some good Dan Lanning stats for me?
40 straight wins and 31-0 under Dan Lanning win. Oregon scores first.
Oh.
So the key to Oregon and Lanning winning is we score first, we win the football game because they're 31-0.
That's a nice little stat.
They're also 38-1 under Dan Lanning when leading at halftime.
That's pretty remarkable.
And they improved to 14-1 all-time in Big Ten play, and they're 8-0 on the road since joining the Big Ten.
It's really hard to go east, though, and win games. That's what people keep telling me, man. A lot of teams having a hard time going east and winning games.
I want you to give me your thoughts on it. Was this an all fours on the ground game? Or
it was, yeah. I mean, there was a lot on the line here. It was one of the more impressive wins under Lanning. I will say. He's got a marquee win in a Big Ten title game. He beat Ohio State last year. At the time, the Penn State whiteout win seemed massive, and now I know some of the shine has come off of that. I think it's considering how it looked and what they had going into the game makes it one of the most impressive wins that he's ever had. Like, we knew that Iowa could win the game one way and one way only. And how did the game play out? The one way that Iowa could win the game. Iowa played the exact game that they wanted to play. If I told you on Friday that Oregon is going to be without their top two weapons on offense, which, hey, nice little news bomb. I'm getting texts from people on Friday night like, why are people bothering me on Friday night? Are you reading the message boards? Like, no, I don't want to read message boards right now. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. We'll see what they say.
Was that on the message boards Friday?
Oh, it was Friday night.
Okay.
Duck Twitter blew up on Friday night at like 11 o'clock at night.
Sauces.
I got texts coming from all over the place. I'm like, guys, I don't know. I sent Dusty a text. He did not respond, rightfully so. So he's not giving me any scoop. I'm waiting for scoop. We don't know what's going to happen.
The brand man wouldn't even tell you and say, keep it off the record.
He's good. He's guard. I think he probably
How dare he?
I think I would be willing to guess. We'll have this fun game with him. I will say over under 25.5 texts he got asking about Kenyon Sadiq and Decorian Moore. I'll take the over on that, and those are a lot to respond to. So in his benefit, I will give him the grace there. But if you tell me on Friday, hey, we're wrapping up the show, final thoughts on Oregon and Iowa. Decorian Moore's not going to play. Kenyon Sadiq's not going to play, and your starting right tackle is going to be out. The weather's going to be awful the entire game. So the one main advantage that you had over Iowa was your ability to throw the football. That's now nullified, one, because of injuries, and two, because of the elements. The final score of the game is going to be 18-16, and Iowa's going to have more passing yards than you. How do you think the game's going to go?
If you just told me the passing yards thing and the score, I would probably lean. I think Iowa is the winner in that.
Because it's an Iowa game, and that's the kind of game Iowa needed to win. They needed it to be ugly. They needed it to be below. They need the under to hit. They need sub 20 points.
It made no sense.
And that's how they win the game. And ironically, Oregon ended up beating Iowa at their own game. They outrushed them. They controlled the line of scrimmage throughout. They were significantly better on special teams. I know Iowa hit the one long field goal, but a safety ended up being the scoring difference in this game. Oregon was 3 for 3 on field goals, made a long one, and then obviously the game-winning kick. Like, they went into Iowa shorthanded and banged up with their season on the line and found a way to win the game the way that Iowa wanted to dictate the game. And for those reasons, considering how shorthanded they were, it's one of the most impressive wins I've seen under Lanning.
Yeah, there was certainly some stuff that needs to be recognized. 0 punt returns allowed. They already entered the game with the best punt return coverage in the nation at -1 yard. What's that kid's name?
Caden Weegen. He's one of the best punt returners in the country, and he was a complete non-factor, and he fumbled. Brandon Finney forced a fumble, which was a massive swing in the game as well.
I mean, it's not to me like if you would have said, Sprague, will that Weegen kid have a return? I'd say not a chance. Lanning lets that kid have even one look. And then they did it. They did an exceptional job of that. You mentioned Finney, right? Being shorthanded, you need guys to step up. Finney had 2 forced fumbles, and he had 4 tackles, including 3 and a tackle for loss. I thought Lanning in the postgame made a great point. And this is more for a Duck fan than I think anybody else. If Oregon is to trip up again in the regular season and we'll see how the playoffs go if they can get to that point.
They dropped a spot in the AP poll for winning that game.
Did they really?
Ole Miss beat the Citadel and jumped them in the AP poll.
For winning 41-9 nothing against
the AP
Citadel?
voters are reacting
the AP
to
voters
that game was in
reacted.
prime time for the AP.
The AP voters reacted to the CFP, and
Wow.
Ole Miss was ranked ahead of Oregon in the CFP. So they none of them watch football, and it's irrelevant. But I digress.
Yeah, that poll is irrelevant. No longer, if they lose to fill in the blank to Washington, the youth thing is dead. It is RIP. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see a text. I don't want to hear from Duck fans in my life. I don't want to hear from anybody. Lanning's just said, we're done with that. They've played enough football. They're not just young guys anymore. They've all played. Finney was awesome in that game. Tuioti, awesome in that game. Sans the spying quarterback play where I thought it was fairly obvious that Cat was going to run it in because he sucks at throwing, but they had the one long pass. I think I look at Oregon now, and it's, to me, not the best win in the Lanning era. And I know Iowa fan joking about that being Oregon's Super Bowl. To me, my takeaway, and I probably already had this because of the Wisconsin game, but now you go on the road against a ranked opponent, and you end up getting stuck in the game they want you to play.
They dragged you into the mud.
Iowa is not Ohio State. They're not Georgia. They're not Bama. So I understand there's going to be some caveats to what I'm about to say. I think, if anything, the big takeaway for me is you are finally built in a way that there's not a style of play that should scare the living hell out of you anymore.
No.
You can be explosive offensively when healthy, obviously. You can play in the weather elements. You can play big boy, bruise it up, Midwestern style, fat boy football. There's not a style of play anymore. Like even in the Kelly era, which was wildly successful and helped launch that brand even higher. Unfortunately, you came up just a little short against Auburn in the biggest moment. You had the LSU game. Like, you had Ohio State did this post-Kelly, right, with Elfrich. You had these games that just like, damn, they're beating us in these areas. And Mario, I thought, took a step in addressing that area, and then Lanning came in and really upped it. So my big takeaway is, if you weren't already there, you watched Oregon just say, there's not a style we're worried about anymore. We're a Big Ten team now. We can play like a Big Ten team when we need to. And that was kind of my overall point all week was, if the weather was to play a factor, if you were going to get stuck in an Iowa football game, it took a while. It took some things to happen. I wasn't worried because I just think Oregon there is no longer a style anymore for this program that they're pigeonholed to. They can do it any kind of way.
I'm just the one thing I hope to stop seeing, although I don't know if it ever will, is this idea. Like I saw some of the reporting after the game was Oregon proves that they have the ability to go toe to toe at the line of scrimmage with Big Ten teams. Like, how long are we going to do this for?
Well, it's got to be dead now.
This is not 2007 Oregon anymore. I even heard Nick Saban last week, one of the smartest people around college football. Oregon likes to use their skill position players and get out and use tempo, and when they struggle is when they get beat at the line of scrimmage. And it's like, what year is it? Have we not watched this team? Did we not watch them go 13-0 and do this to Ohio State and Penn State in the regular season, one in the Big Ten title game?
Yeah.
Like, they're very good at the line of scrimmage, man. Like this idea that they can't hang. The one thing that I was not going to let the Indiana game do. Oregon had a bad game against Indiana. They I don't know if they were
Indiana
high on their own
really
supply.
well too,
Indiana
yes.
played a great game. They were feeling good coming off the Penn State win. They didn't play their best game. That happens. It's a long season, and you get 12 different versions of each team.
Right.
But the one thing that I knew they were going to take personally in that game was how they got beat at the line of scrimmage. Indiana was the more physical team on defense, and they were the more physical team at the point of attack on the offensive line. And that was the one thing that everybody kept going to last week that I just wasn't that fearful of. Like, Oregon has shown, just with their size and their strength, they have a good offensive line. They have a good defensive line. And if you're going to win that game against Iowa this weekend, that is the one thing that you have to be able to do. They ran the ball for 261 yards on Iowa.
Unbelievable.
261 yards. They averaged 7.3 yards per carry. Iowa, the entire game, had one run longer than 10 yards.
Yeah.
The entire game, their top running back, Moulton, had a 16-yard run. He averaged 3.8 yards per carry. Your top backs, Noah Whittington, 6.9.
Yep.
Jordan Davison, 6.5. And De'Air Hill, 6.4. Like they took that personally, and they made it a point of emphasis to say we are not going to allow that to happen. Again, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to win the game, but this fear of Oregon at the line of scrimmage, I don't know where it comes from and why it still exists, but it should not anymore. You're big, strong, and physical. The other thing that I will say And this is the biggest difference now from where Oregon is at, from where they used to be. And this is the one thing that I would love to spread this message to Duck fans, because I can't even begin to tell you how many texts I had on Saturday morning of just the despair of the injury news, right? You find out DeCorian Moore, Kenyon Sadiq, and your starting right tackle aren't playing, and it's like the sky is falling, the world's going to end. We have to get over that mindset as a fan base. You have now recruited and developed to be able to have guys that can step in. Now, for an entire season, I don't know. If you have to play without those guys the rest of the way, I don't know.
Right.
But for any given Saturday, we literally did this last year for Ohio State. You remember the news? Jordan Birch got hurt that week in practice. Your best defensive lineman going into your biggest game of the year. And everybody thought, oh, God, here we go again. Your top defensive lineman's out. What happened? Oregon won the game. Like, we got to stop doing this to ourselves. Lanning prides himself on the number of guys that can play above the line football.
Next man up mentality.
He loves playing in every situation he gets, as many guys as possible. I'll go all the way back to the opening game of the season, and we reacted to the Montana State win. And I remember saying, man, that was kind of interesting that Cooper Perry was making catches in the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half. He's a true freshman wide receiver, skinny little white kid, but he had a good fall camp. Who made a catch over the middle in traffic in a 2-minute drill as the clock is winding down with your season on the line? Cooper Perry did. Like, they have recruited to the point where a couple of injuries are not going to derail you on any given Saturday. Again, if you have to go into the college football playoff without Kenyon Sadiq, DeCorian Moore, and your starting right tackle, I don't know how far you're going to be able to go. But it was a testament to the depth and the recruiting that they have built, that one or two injuries are not going to derail you on any given Saturday the way that it used to for this program.